I tell you what, how about that for an intro? It's a great intro, isn't it? Welcome back to the Busby Way podcast. It's been a while. Me and Chris were just saying off air. It's been a while since we've done one of these. How are you, Chris? Have you had a good summer? Have you enjoyed yourself for some time off?
Yeah, it's been good to have the time off, hasn't it? Obviously, I know you were busy doing all the Euros podcasts as well. I just sat back and enjoyed England's run to the final. Not so much the penalty shootout to end it, but we can't have everything. But yeah, obviously new season fast approaching, and I think off the wave of the Euros, sort of that excitement still there, isn't it? And just can't wait to get into it. And obviously, good to get the first podcast out of the way.
We're losing. My Wi-Fi is terrible now. I'm really sorry. Go on, Chris. What were you saying?
Just can't wait to get the season going again. Obviously, I think United's pre-season's been pretty well. To first, it started slowly, didn't it? With but nobody really played. First team play against Everton, and it was positive. So, I'm looking forward to getting back on the horse in the podcast as well.
Yes, I'm going to say I feel like we've been recommissioned. We've been recommissioned for a second season, so I feel like we've made it. I mean,
contract extended.
Yeah. We've got another season, so we normally have Nathan and Liam with us, but Nathan is currently having technical difficulties, and he may join us during the podcast. And if he does, we'll introduce him, and I'll let you know he's there. And Liam is unfortunately, I think he's just busy today, but they'll both be back with us next week. So they haven't just been axed; they are with us next week. But it's just me and Chris for now. In terms of the Euros, then I'll quickly touch upon it because we've that's what we've been watching over the summer. How impressed were you with United's talent for England's team in the Euros, Chris?
I think it goes without saying that Luke Shaw was the best left back in the competition, right up there with, for me, player of the tournament. Let's be clear, Donnarumma should not have been anywhere near the player of the tournament. He wasn't even the best goalkeeper in the tournament for me. That was Pickford. But Luke Shaw was right up there with the best of the tournament for me. I thought Harry Maguire, once he came back in after his injury, outstanding. Sancho obviously didn't get as many minutes as we possibly thought he would, but I think he did reasonably well. Obviously, the heartbreak of the penalty shootout with him and Rashford both missing. It's one of those, isn't it? I think Rashford's just so unlucky, isn't he? He's done everything right apart from being half a yard at most away from probably scoring the penalty that sends us to victory, which is just gut wrenching. But in terms of the England players who were from United, I thought brilliant. And if they can continue that form, Luke Shaw looks like the best left back in the world for me. On the form he showed, obviously scoring in the final. I don't think anybody would, someone somewhere had money on it, but not many would have done. Maguire was outstanding. Got to say, him and John Stones in particular, they formed such a great partnership, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, they were good together.
So I was really, really pleased with the contribution of those two, especially. And then, in terms of other nations, some didn't get the opportunities that they'd have liked. I thought Dan James had a good Euros for Wales.
I did.
Bruno, I don't think in that Portugal team gets the same control as he does for United. Obviously, overshadowed by Cristiano. And he wasn't able to play in his preferred position a lot of the time as well. So mixed bag from the general squad, but the England players, Harry Maguire and Shaw, outstanding.
Yeah, you mentioned Pickford there, and it's weird, isn't it, between how Pickford goes from being this world-class keeper for England and then Everton. I don't know if you've seen the goal yesterday in pre-season. We were there. I was there yesterday, and it was, honestly, just to get back in Old Trafford, incredible. Absolutely love being back. Just to get back inside that stadium. I mean, it was a friendly, so the atmosphere was quiet, but it was just good to get back in. But the mistake that Pickford made for that goal was laughable. It was very funny. Especially watching it, as a United fan.
He's one of them into for some reason in England shirt, he's like unbelievable. Stick him in an Everton shirt and that's him.
Two different people out there. Two different people. Yeah, but I mean, for me, I've got a bit of a European hangover still because we were we were last one we did was the Europa League. I mean, I can't imagine what I was like. I don't really want to listen to it back because I was infuriated. I think we all were. I think we're all a bit disappointed. And I think the time off from United actually did us good. And I think now, there's a bit of a feel good factor about it. And also we said after the Europa League final that we desperately needed centre back and we needed players to improve. The squad. And obviously, it's a transfer window now. It's still going on. But we haven't officially signed Varane, but we almost have officially signed Varane. Well, in terms of him as a signing, how good is he for Man United getting him in? Because I don't know about you, but I am incredibly excited about getting him in.
Yeah, and I think getting him in on the cheap, really, compared to the market as a whole for a player who's won as much as he has, to get him it's around the £30-odd million mark, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which
I think so, yeah.
Steal for somebody of his quality and CV. He got the potential to slot straight in and potentially form a great partnership with Maguire, and one that we've not had for a long time. You're talking Ferdinand Vidic, really, since we had a good centre half partnership where you thought, 9 times out of 10 they'll bail us out, and I think this partnership has the potential to be that good. And other than probably the partnership at Liverpool, of Konate and Van Dijk, that has real potential as well. And obviously you look at City's Stones and Diaz. This would be right up there. And we've seen centre backs make a massive difference to teams, Liverpool and Man City. Whether Liverpool signed Van Dijk, become title contenders. City signed Diaz, win the league because they addressed the issue that they had the previous season. Will Varane be in that same sort of situation? He's got the potential because, going forward, United were already as good as anybody. It was at the back. And I think now, if it is a case of your 3 centre-backs, that one that you would be quite happy to come in and keep a high level, that would be Victor Lindelof. And, back end of the season, I thought Lindelof and Maguire were better, obviously until Maguire got injured. So it's in a far healthier situation having Lindelof as the third centre-back, because you don't feel worried as much if it's Maguire and Lindelof or Lindelof and Varane, because Lindelof is a very good third choice centre back. It was obviously when it was Bailly coming in that you had heart attack every other week. I think it strengthens the position, really. We've said a long time, centre back position is the one that needed strengthening, maybe centre midfield as well, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But once it's signed and sealed and delivered, I'll be very happy with that. It looks as though it's just a formality, which is, it is United though, so you have to be a bit cautious still.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's quarantined at the moment. I think he just put a video on his social media of him doing some training in quarantine, which is, I love little snippets like that when you get to see like an insight into what, the dealings of the transfers and stuff. But I think, with United this season, they seem to have come down a different route. Normally they go for centre backs where, potentially there's, you haven't really heard of them and they're on the up and coming and they're playing something like the, Portuguese league or, like, for example, like Rojo and like Lindelof. They've gone for that type of centre-back over the past few years and it hasn't worked. We've seen evidently it hasn't worked in the last few years. Even Bailly, got him from Valencia. It's a Spanish league, but he was like not a well-touted centre-back. Like nobody really knew of his name, but Varane's a world-class centre-back. And like you say, I'm really excited to get him in. It'll be one hell of a signing to come in. He brings experience. He's a winning mentality. And again, you mentioned United centre backs of the past. They've always had big partnerships. They've always had, like your Vidic and Ferdinand, and you've always had the two. Whereas United at the moment, I think, have only got Maguire. I was saying to my mate yesterday at the game, United now are building a team of leaders. You look at, for example, we'll look at the 2008-9 team. That team, you had Van der Sar was a leader. Gary Neville was a leader. I know Gary Neville was on his way out at that age, but he was a bit older, wasn't he? But he was still in there, still in about the team. You had Vidic and Ferdinand who were leaders. You had Evra who was a leader. So, and then you had Giggs, Scholes, Hargreaves, Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo, all leaders on the pitch. And I think United is starting to do that now. They're starting to build, like you look at the team United have got now, you'd argue probably Dean Henderson and De Gea are leaders. Maybe not Wan-Bissaka, but then again, if they get Trippier in, which is a rumor, he's a leader. You got Maguire and Varane, and you got Luke Shaw. Maybe not a leader, but that's what I mean. They're getting towards building that team. They've got Bruno and Pogba in there. Rashford as well. They've got the.
You're not quite sure what's happened with you there,
My mic was unplugged, and I don't know what happened.
Randomly went off.
It just came up and was like, my mic was unplugged. I was like, I unplugged it and replugged it back in, and it still wasn't working, but it's working now. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I was saying, they're just building a strong team, I think, and it's hopefully, fingers crossed, it all works out and Varane does end up signing dotted line because, yeah, I think I'm probably more excited about him than Sancho, which we'll talk about in a minute. We'll talk about Sancho because Varane, for me, like you said, is a position we've needed as centre-back. Centre-back was crying out, and Lindelof's a good centre-back, don't get me wrong, but him and Maguire as a pair don't gel. They're too similar. And I think Varane coming in will be... I didn't realise he recorded one of the quickest speeds in the league last season. Really? Out of any player. I read that on an article the other day. I didn't realise that, and I was like, well, because when my mate was going, yeah, he's not quick enough. He's not quick enough. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, and then I Googled it. I was like, I'm sure Varane's pretty quick. And I Googled it and it said that. So there you go. There's a little fact for you.
Yeah, to be fair, I think he strikes me as one of those centre-backs that you don't realise how quick he is because he's so good positionally.
And he can read the game well as well, can't he? Reads the game really well. So, I mean, yeah, I must admit, he's always flirted with United and I always thought, is he using this for any contracts? I did think, but fair play to him. He seems to want to come, doesn't he? He's told Madrid he wants to leave. He's done it respectfully, which is the type of player you want at your club. You don't want a player who's kicking off. Kane. But you want a player who's respectful to the club, especially when they've been there a lot of years. Again, Harry Kane. But it's I mean, I'm very happy with it, and hopefully, I mean, I don't think he'll start against Leeds the weekend. I think he'll probably be on the bench.
Probably too early, that isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to say to throw. If he'd have been signed a bit earlier, and he'd have played a friendly like Everton yesterday, I think he probably would have started. But to throw a new centre-back partnership together against Leeds at home in front of 75,000 bouncing Old Trafford, I don't think because if he makes a mistake in that game, they'll be all out.
Especially a team like Leeds, derby game as well, isn't it? Really, that big rivalry. So,
yeah. In terms of him coming into the team, then Chris, do you think it'll just be him and Maguire that'll play, or do you think we might see even Lindelof and Varane as a partnership at some point?
I think logic would be Maguire Varane, and I think on paper that looks a really good partnership. But sort of as I was trying to allude to, I think there's that flexibility that if one of them is carrying a knock, Lindelof can come in, and I think Lindelof would work better with Varane than with Maguire. I think maybe we'll see. Obviously, like you said, I think he'll probably be Maguire Lindelof that first game, and then obviously in Champions League, Cup games, etc., he might try out the different partnership of Lindelof and Varane, see how that works, just to sort of give them game time together, so that if there is an issue with Maguire at any point, suspension, injury, etc., we can go right, but quite comfortable with Victor Lindelof coming in. And I think that's always a good situation to have. We've talked about like the Ferdinand Vidic partnership. Whenever a Wes Brown had to come into the sides, you never worried really, because Wes Brown was always one of those players you could rely on. If Lindelof can become that player who you don't worry about him coming into the team, you're happy. But obviously, like I said, last few seasons, it's been that worry whenever Bailly's come in. Which Bailly are you getting? Are you getting the one who will have an absolute worldie, or the one who will, throw his face in front of the ball and get injured after 5 minutes, or, hit an awful back pass towards his goalkeeper? That was the thing. You always worried about which one would turn up. With Lindelof, he has his moments, but I think the good moments outweigh the bad. I just don't think, ultimately that partnership with him and Maguire was a long-term one. But I'm quite comfortable knowing that if he's called upon, it's not the end of the world, and that, he is a very good defender. on his day, and he provides us with a far better option if we have to turn to him. So yeah.
Yeah, I must admit, you saying there with Bayern, the one that strikes me is that handball. Do you remember when he did the handball? And it almost like he kicked it up.
Yeah.
Didn't he kick it up against his own hand? And his hand was like up here.
Yeah. That's just Eric Bailly in a nutshell sometimes, isn't it?
It is. It always makes me laugh on Twitter when United are playing and Bailly is playing. When they have, they say, what will minute will Bailly do something in? And everyone's like putting like the predictions underneath something that'll do like an Eric Bailly thing because he always does one every game. I have also realised I'm wearing a blue shirt and you can't see the badge on it. It is a retro United shirt. I'm not wearing an Everton shirt. I just noticed then when you were talking, I was like, I'm wearing a blue United kit and like you can't see the badge. You might think I'm not wearing a United kit, but I am. I am wearing a United kit, don't worry. But yeah, as well, we were saying about centre-back issues that we've had over the years. Another position we've needed desperately is a right winger. And again, United have brought someone in on that right wing. I think the right wing position for me was a bit different because centre-backs, they've always had them, but they've just not been to the quality. Whereas this right wing position, we don't have a natural right winger in the squad other than Jadon Sancho, we've now signed. Which, for me, I mean, I'm not as excited about it as Varane, and I should be, but it feels like we signed him 12 months ago. That's why. It feels like we almost had him last year, and because there was that many rumours going around. But yeah, I mean, I'll ask you the same question then, Chris. Are you excited about him coming in? Are you looking forward to seeing Sancho in the United shirt?
Yeah, ultimately, whenever I have seen him, it has been, in Champions League, etc. And I've always been impressed with him. Obviously, the stats speak for themselves. Obviously, we weren't treated to as much of him as in the Euros as we thought we might have done. I know I played a bit against the Ukraine, didn't he? And I think he did quite well in that game. Ultimately, I'm excited in the sense that, he's clearly a talented lad with so much potential at still such a young age. It's just whether he can replicate that form he had for Dortmund over in the Premier League. Because for some reason, I've always found that players coming in from Germany are very, very hit and miss. You look at Timo Werner's prime example, really, isn't it? Smashing him in left, right, and centre in the Bundesliga doesn't look anywhere near that in the Premier League. Kai Havertz
had a fair share with him, aren't they? United
Schweinsteiger.
Mkhitaryan, Kagawa.
I think you even go back to somebody like Andre Schürrle, who came in, excellent in the Bundesliga. It's just not worked out. And Boateng, when he was at City, there's a long list. He's just one of those weird ones, and I don't understand it because I think, if anything, the Bundesliga of the European leagues is probably the most like the Premier League in terms of the physicality. For me, anyway. That it will be interesting to see how it goes. Obviously, he knows the English game, so that will help him. Anyway, we don't have the worry or the issue about him, settling into life back in England. So that'll make life easier as well. And, he's got pace, he's got quality, he's got end product. And I think Edison Cavani will love playing with him. And I think Sancho will love playing with somebody like Cavani, who he knows if he puts a half-decent cross in, Cavani's getting there. Yeah. So that could be something to watch. We've seen it over the years, haven't we? Beckham crossing into, an Andy Cole, a Ruud van Nistelrooy, that type of player. That's something we've not had from that right-hand side for a long time. And I think with Sancho, you get a bit more of a traditional winger who will cross the ball and look to create assists rather than score all the goals himself. And I think that is something that a lot of Premier League clubs don't have, especially the top Premier League clubs. Yeah, obviously you want attacking players scoring the goals, but if you've got somebody who's creating the goals and putting them on a plate for somebody else, I'm quite happy with that. Let Rashford, Cavani, Greenwood, Fernandes, they score the goals. Get Sancho running at defenders, getting crosses in, get players into the box, late runs from McTominay, etc. Could work wonders. So I'm interested to see how it goes. I'd like to see him against Leeds, throwing him straight in, see what he's about. I think he'll thrive off that atmosphere from the first game. Seems like that sort of player to me. So I'm interested very interested to see how
I
it
must
goes.
admit. I must admit, you now look at United's attacking options, and it's incredible the amount of talent United now have. Don't get me wrong, a massive wage bill, but the attacking options United have now got is incredible. They've got Sancho, Rashford, Greenwood, Cavani, Pogba, Bruno. It's just name upon name of world class talent, and I think, go back to what I said, they're building a team of captains, leaders, and world class players, and I'm excited. I must admit, I'm quietly. We were saying we were quietly confident on before this went live, and I think I am. Sancho's an incredible signing. It's like you say. I don't think we actually. I'm trying to think who we've had right up the last few years. It's been Valencia on it, and realistically, we haven't. This is probably Ronaldo's replacement, which sounds ridiculous. But
10 years too late.
Yeah, I know, and we haven't had anyone on that right hand side. Because I'm trying to think who else we've had.
It's been like square pegs in round holes, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Always on that right hand side. Sanchez has probably played over there.
Yes.
Di Maria will have played over in left or right. But yeah, you've had Memphis Depay has been out wide. Januzaj's played both sides when he was around.
Yeah, you got him as well. Yeah.
But there's never been anybody who's nailed it and nailed that spot himself. Yeah, well, a lot of them have been, left-sided players playing on the right, cutting in, or again, liked playing on the right side, but enjoyed coming in on the left, but never really, settled. But yeah, I think all the hallmarks of it is that it's going to be a good signing.
Yeah.
Proof will be in the pudding, won't it?
Yeah, it will. I mean, to be honest, you look at United's the way they've signed them as well, and I think the positive for me is they. I know obviously we didn't get him last year, and you probably would have paid about another 30, 40 million extra, but we ended up saving that 30, 40 million, which is now being allowed to be spent on Varane. Which credit to them. I mean, you don't normally give United's transfer strategy credit, but they've done all right there, and they've saved a bit of money because they've banked on a pandemic costing Dortmund some money, haven't they? That's what they've done, and it has done. In terms of that's bringing players in, do you think they'll bring anyone else in? Do you think there'll be anyone else coming in this summer? Because I know Manchester Evening News reported, I think it was a few days back now, that there will be a third significant signing will be coming, and there's been a few talks of Trippier. There's been a bit of talk about that Camavinga, hasn't there? And Sal, depending on whether he goes to Liverpool or not. Do you think there'll be a third? And who would you like it to be?
I think central midfield is probably the one area I still think we can invest in. Because, I mean, I'm speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and basically we came up with the idea that it's pointless signing Kane this season because we've got Cavani and we can wait 12 months to get Haaland. So we don't need to really worry about centre forward because, Rashford, Greenwood can play up there, Martial can play up there. We're not short of options there. Centre midfield, again, like I say, is probably the area, but I would go for a younger player like a Camavinga. I'd even look at Tielemans and Didi at Leicester. I really rate those two. And Didi, because I think we played a 4-3-3 at the weekend, didn't we? With Matic at the base and Didi in that base. To me, it's like, oh, I like that. Yeah. The more I think about it, the more I like it.
It worked really well. Matic for me in that game, it was weird when I was watching it. When they were defending, they dropped to a back four and Shaw and Wan-Bissaka took in. But as soon as they went attacking, Wan-Bissaka and Shaw would almost play as wingers, which they do normally. But Matic would go from playing in the CDM to dropping behind the centre backs. Yeah. It was quite bizarre watching it, and I was like,
yeah. And Didi does a bit something similar for Leicester, so he would be, a real catch. I don't see Leicester selling him for anything less than upwards of 50, 60 mil to be frank. So that might price us out a bit. But they've gone for the established Varane. If they get Trippier in, another established, experienced head. Sancho's, again, he's established but young. I would like to see, a young central midfield player come in with that real potential to be the player. So, yeah, I think that's where Trippier looks like it could happen. And I think if we can get central midfield player in, I think, whisper it quietly, it might actually be United's best transfer window for a very, very long time. Might already be that anyway.
Well, I think it has been. They've signed 2 world-class players, haven't they? It's one more, just put the just put the icing on the cake, wouldn't it? Cherry on top. But there's been another talk to Neves, and I think Neves would do a similar thing to what Ndidi does.
Yeah.
Neves, good player, and as well, Bruno's not gonna say don't sign him if he's terrible, is he? He's not gonna, he's not gonna be telling United to sign him if he's terrible. But there's been as well talks of like you say, CDM coming in, but I didn't realise, United have got 11 central midfielders in the squad.
So I suppose as well when you look down the roster, a lot of young central midfield players. There is. Ghana, I know he's been talked of as being a highly rated player as well. So maybe we might see some of them start to come through. Which, certainly no objection to that. If they're good enough, stick them in. McTominay had proved that when he came into the side. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just having a look here, I've just got a squad up, and the central midfielders we've got, right, is Paul Pogba, Juan Mata, Jesse Lingard, Pereira, Fred Fernandez, Matic, Van der Beek, Garner, Scott McTominay. There's a lot of central midfielders in there.
And the thing is as well, I think in pre-season, Pereira scored an absolute worldie.
But he's pre-season Perlo, though, isn't he? He's just a pre-season Perlo.
He's done that a good few seasons, hasn't he? He's bags in
Yeah.
pre-season, looked the worldie, and then plays a couple of games and stinks. And then get shipped out on loan. But I noticed Van der Beek's proper beefed up, hasn't he? Looks like
as well. Yesterday he was really, really good. He stood out. He almost played. It was weird watching it because you've gone from seeing him as this midfielder last year, where you don't really know what role he plays. Everyone says he's a box to box, but he didn't really do that. And then United's system didn't really have a room for a box to box midfielder. But he played Fred's role yesterday, and he was really, really good at it. He just broke up the play, and because he's bulked up, he's strong. He's strong. You can tell he looks bigger, and again, it could be a big season for him. I think.
I hope so. I really hope so.
I do. Yeah, I do. It's make or break for him. I think if he doesn't do it this season, I think he's gone, which is sad. Which is very sad because he's a talent. He's a very talented lad. But another player I think in there as well, who actually looks like he's going to stay, is Lingard. What do you think about that one? Because
based on his form at West Ham, he looked like he could, really challenge for a place in the United team. But don't get me wrong, I do love Jesse Lingard. I think he's a smashing lad, and he's always tried. I think sometimes he's just form and his head's not been in the right place. And needed that time at West Ham. I personally would love for him to get the move to West Ham or somebody like that and be the main man, because I think that's where he's at now. I don't see him fitting into the United team regularly enough for him to be happy. I think he deserves a move to a good club, and I think West Ham's a perfect club for him. It was proven, really, wasn't it? And I think Moise is the perfect manager for him in many ways as well, isn't he? So, yeah, I would not be overly surprised to see him leave the club, and I would wish him all the best if he does. If he stays, I hope he can force his way into the reckoning, because if he's performing well enough, he can force himself into the team. More than likely, he's an impact sub. I think he'll be a very good squad player, but I would just feel bad if he was only played 5 or 6 games, because he deserves to play for me. Maybe just elsewhere.
Yeah, I must admit, I think the reason he did so well at West Ham is because he was getting consistent game time. That's what it was. When you played in the first team week in, week out, you get your confidence and your form goes up, doesn't it? Because you're practicing playing. But I think the United signings, in terms of actually making another signing, I think it does rely on whether he goes and Pereira goes and Dalot goes, because I think that's the only way they bring in someone else. I must admit, actually, watching yesterday as well, Dalot, I know it's pre-season, you can't read that much into it, but Dalot played really well as well when he came on.
Yeah, I quite like Dalot. I think he's got something. And I think I would like to see him kept around a little bit longer, given the fact he's young. Maybe think about another loan. I think a lot will depend. If Trippier comes in, then there might be a temptation if a bid comes in for Dalot to go, okay, right, fair enough. But if there isn't, keep him around. I think he would be a very good backup to Wan-Bissaka. Can play right, left. I think he's got the physicality to even, we're very desperate if we somehow get an injury crisis in centre half. I think he's got the physicality to maybe play there as well. So I think he's somebody who would be worth keeping around at least for a couple more seasons to see whether he can become the player he has the potential to be. Because I think in Portugal he's really highly thought of. So yeah, I'd like to see him stay. To be fair.
Yeah, and I must admit, but like you say, if they get Trippier in, I don't think he's going to get really.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, massively, and I think they will. I think they will get Trippier in, and if you get Trippier in, it's an incredible window. United have got an incredible squad there. You just need to start thinking about shifting players. I think for me, and a bit
Phil
of
Jones.
Well,
just release him. I'm sorry, but just release him.
But don't you have to pay him off, Smite? You're stupid, like 15
Pay him
million.
off. Pay him off.
Pay him off. Get rid of him.
Because
he's not going to play, is he?
Yeah, he's best for everybody.
Yeah.
No, realistically, if nobody is going to pay the transfer fee we're hanging on for, it's not going to do Phil Jones any good. Sitting there, just never getting a look in. Let the lad go.
Can you imagine being Phil Jones sat on a bench and being thinking, well, Saturday getting 100 grand a week, or you can pay me off for like 8 million quid if you want, and I can go play football again and get paid more.
I mean, I'd like to think Phil Jones would go, you know what, right, yeah, we might have this clause in contract that says you have to pay X amount for, right, just give me what you can, and I'll go, just so I can force a move to somebody. Because, somebody at the bottom half of the Premier League would get a very good player for them, in my eyes. Somebody like, look at somebody like a Southampton could do a lot worse than Phil Jones. So, yeah, it's best all round.
I don't know about a lot worse than Phil Jones.
I mean, I remember a time when I was, when he first signed, I remember thinking, oh, we got a gun in here. I think to fair everybody was. And then
is that video in there of Fergie going, it could be one of the best centre-backs we've ever had?
Yeah. I just wonder if, because he used to play a lot of centre mid as well. I wonder if things might have panned out differently if he'd have gone for centre mid. It could have been there leading us to Euros glory in centre mid.
Phil Jones keeping Declan Rice out the team in England.
He'd have been captain, mate.
Yeah, he would.
Been captain, lifting trophy. The world would be a very different place.
Can you imagine the world with Phil Jones in such a midfield? It's not a world I want to be a part of. But yeah, I was reading this morning as well, and speaking of central midfield, I was reading this morning that United's bid to sign Camavinga could actually be boosted by Messi going to PSG, albeit it was by the star, but Messi going to PSG now because of financial fair play, they're having to request it and it's having to take ages to go through because it's that big of a salary. And that means that there won't be any more signs for PSG, let's be honest. But another amazing window as well, PSG, by the way. They've
that is genuinely the best window ever.
Wijnaldum on a free, Messi on a free, Ramos on a free.
Donnarumma on a free.
And
if they get Messi on a free, genuinely not
54 million for Hakimi in it, and what a window. If they don't win the Champions League,
they still won't win it.
No, they won't.
They'll find a way to lose it. They'll find a way to lose it.
I don't as well. Sorry, just completely going off United here, but in terms of spending money and transfer windows, how can City get away with it? I just don't understand it. They got kicked out of the Champions League for financial fair play, and they've now gone. They're going to go spend another 250 million.
Yeah, and there was Pep the other week going, we don't have enough money to sign Grealish, and then bam, 100 mil from nowhere.
It made me laugh. Did you see his press conference last night? What he said?
No.
He came out and said we didn't spend 100 million on Grealish. We spent 40 million on Grealish. He said we made.
Because we made 60 million. That's not how it works, mate.
What about all the money you spent last year? Is that not? It's like we made £60 million last year, so we only spent 40. We paid 100, but we only spent.
You may as well have said, our owner sold one of his cars.
Got the money. Ridiculous, wasn't it? Ridiculous. But yeah. Anyway, little sidetrack there onto City and a little rant about City.
Got to get a dig in.
No, you got to, haven't you? You've got to. But in terms of like United, and then it makes me laugh because they seem to be the only club to get the business done early ever. First time ever United have got the business done early, probably since Fergie left, and neither are signed on ready for neither are probably ready fitness for the first game of the season. It's ridiculous. But we'll look forward now to that game because big game, a very big game. It's the second kickoff I think in the Premier League because I think Arsenal play Brentford on the Friday night, don't they? And we play early kickoff on the Saturday. Are you? Oh, that's a stupid question, but are you looking forward to it?
Oh, I think it's got all the hallmarks of an opening day classic, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
United against Leeds. When we knew Leeds were going to get promoted, we all decided it'd be great if we could get fans in for the game, and obviously we weren't able to. And first game of the season, full Old Trafford, away fans from Leeds, their first away day at Old Trafford as well. I mean, for them, that they couldn't have had it much better, really, could they? No. It's going to be a superb game. Obviously, the game at Old Trafford last season was 5-2, wasn't it? Unbelievable game. Scott McTominay having the 6-2, yeah. McTominay had a game of his life as well, didn't he? He scored 2 in like 3 minutes or something stupid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it could be anything. Predict this. Leeds are going to throw everything. They're going to play exactly how they played last season, and I think they're all going to have another really good go at it this year. A couple of good signings for them, I think. And obviously, like we touched on, United might be basically as they were, but obviously we'll start the season with Cavani, all things being equal, which will be good. And Martial's back and he'll be pushing to make an impact. We've got players who are playing for places, and we've got to start this season well. Obviously, we started last season abysmally. Throwing a few mitigating circumstances, but it was that Crystal Palace game was just ridiculous. I'm glad we weren't podcasting at that point of the season. I know. But yeah, it's important United get off to a good start. It is a real test, though. It is one of the harder games you could have. Outside of the so-called elite clubs, Leeds, for me, are the best of the rest in terms of what they throw at you and the way they play. So it's going to be a great game, really great game. United will be thoroughly tested, but I think they'll be ready for it. I think they'll rise to it in front of the full house. They'll want to put a show on as well and make a statement. I think, if United were to put on another performance like they did last time they played Leeds at home, people will go, okay. This is good. And if you think Varane and, Sancho coming into it, it could send out a real marker. But they can't take Leeds lightly. It'll be test.
Are you happy about playing them first? Because I know a lot of people have been saying, do you want to hit them while they're cold, or do you want to hit them with because we're going to have to play them. Regardless, we're going to have to play them. Would you rather play them now, or would you rather play them later on in the season?
To be fair, I don't think you can ever play Leeds cold. I think the way they're drilled by Bielsa, they'll be as fit as ever, won't they? And they throw everything into every single game, won't they? And I think as well, it will mean a lot to them to go to Old Trafford and do one. As well. It is a massive incentive for them. Again, like I said, first away day for the Leeds United fans, they would give anything for them to turn United over. So they'll come with the intent to win that game. I think, I don't think Bielsa's ever gone into a game thinking, we can't win this, or we're not going to try and win this. Very much last season, it was a case of, let's see how many goals we can score. Hit you on the counter-attack at worst. So it will. I think he's going to be open. Leeds are going to attack United. Obviously, the fact it is going to be the Lindelof Maguire partnership, which I think a Leeds side can get at. So yeah, tough game for me. Tough game. I don't think there's a good time to play a team like Leeds. But I think, maybe with the atmosphere and that being that first game could, have a significance. Put it this way, I'd rather be playing them at home than away. If we're going there, if this was at Ellen Road for the first game of the season, I think it's a different story. I would not fancy that at all, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. Massive. It's a vital game, I think, for me. It's a massively vital game because United Leeds, not only is it the first game of the season, and like Solskjaer says, you can lose the league title in 10. You can't win the league title in the first 10 games, but you can lose it. And that's why I think for me it's massive that we get kicked off to a decent start of the season, especially after the window we've had, because, like I said, the feel good factor's back at United at the moment. Well, it is. It's better than it was at the end of last year when we went through the final. But they get a chance then to press on. If you beat your rivals in the first game with a packed crowd, especially if you make a statement with the players you've got, and hopefully we'll have a full team, because there's a lot of talks of, well, obviously I don't think Varane will be ready. I've said that. Sancho potentially hasn't played with United yet. He's supposed to train this week. It went from reporting to train on Friday to this week, so we'll see if he plays or features. Rashford's out injured. Who else have we got out? Luke Shaw's going to be out injured, but I think he's back now, and he played yesterday. He'll be all right because he did his ribs, didn't he, in the Euros? But
yeah.
I'm trying to think who else they've got out. They've got someone else out, haven't they?
Obviously, I think Henderson. He's out with COVID, isn't he?
That was it. Yeah, Henderson. But obviously, De Gea's world class.
Yeah, it's toss of coin job.
Yeah, it is. And I think as well with Cavani, you mentioned Cavani there. Hopefully, he should be back. I mean, he hasn't trained either since the Copa America, isn't it? Yeah, Copa America. No.
Yeah, Copa
America. Yeah, he hasn't played since then. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. How do you think we will line up, Chris, at the weekend?
Yeah, I think based on what you've said there with those potential absentees, it might open the door for Greenwood down the middle or Martial, which, again, both will have points to prove. I think Greenwood will be desperate to rediscover the goal scoring touch that deserted him in a bit in the Premier League last season. We all know he's got that brilliant finishing ability. He just didn't really get the chances to put it in the net, because I think, I feel like with Greenwood, I'm always confident when he's going through on goal that he's going to score, which is, sign of a great striker. I think maybe I think you'd probably go for that 4-3-3 that he went with against Everton. If he's tried it, then he's clearly worked. Might have been something they've thought of in pre-season and gone, right, this might be the best way to get the best out of all the players we have available. I think, the back four picks itself, given that Varane's not going to be available. It's that midfield three and the front three. And I suppose Bruno, you could either play in a wide area or in that midfield three, and sort of giving, maybe have him as, in that sort of number 10-ish role. I would not be surprised if he just literally copied and pasted what he did against Everton. I think it's worked that well. And go from there. Pogba maybe coming in from the start. Who knows? But it's a great option off the bench, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So, I think it's a tough one to gauge, isn't it? I think a lot will depend on which system he goes for. I'm quite intrigued by that. That 4-3-3 seemed to work well. So maybe we'll stick with that and go with virtually the same 11 that played against Everton. Maybe one or two changes, one or two ways. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes with that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think you summed it up quite well. I think it'll be that midfield three. I think it'll be the interesting thing, because there was talks about going to a 4-3-3, weren't there, with one holding midfielder. So, I mean, we'll see who he decides to go in there. For me, probably go with McTominay. Probably can do it more than Fred. He can do the breaking up the play more than Fred can do what McTominay does. If that makes sense, you know what I mean. But yeah, before I get your predictions, then Chris, where are you watching it on Saturday? Where will you be watching it at home?
Well, I'm working because my new job sees me actually work a few match days. Basically, the job sees me look after Reading. So, so I'm basically Reading are kicking off at 3. So all the prep before that is going to be done with the TV feed
background.
in front of me. So probably not a good thing to say, but
I'll probably say.
the word might get a bit. Last half an hour before kickoff might get a bit throwing everything in. But that's where I'll be watching this one. So I'd love to have been in Stretford End or something like that. It'd be biblical. But I'm hoping once the international break's done, then I'm hoping to start getting to games again. Yeah. Obviously, I've had my jab, so by then I'll have the protection should be in place. So exactly. So I'll be desperate to get back. It's been too long. Especially the beauty as well. We've got Champions League football as well. So a couple of Tuesday nights.
Yeah, can't wait for those Champions League nights. Amazing out there, getting back.
Yeah.
And draw for that'll be soon, won't it? I think it'll be next few weeks.
I'd imagine so. Yeah, because they're in the middle of all the qualifications, aren't they?
Yeah. I had a look last night at the pots, and just completely off topic with United. The pots are actually really interesting. United are in pot 2 because they haven't won the league and they haven't won Europa League, which is why they're not in pot 1. And because everyone else had such a poor season, I'll see if I can pull it up while I'm talking, but because everyone else had such a poor season last year, they're all in pot 2. So everyone's in pot 2 next year.
Because your Barcelona's and Real's flopped.
Yeah. So here, the pot
Juve
2,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, because obviously United can't get anyone in pot 2 because they're in pot 2. So, pot 1 is Chelsea, who we can't get because they're an English side. Villarreal, which would be quite nice for a redemption story if we got Villarreal. Atletico Madrid, who I probably wouldn't fancy us against because Atletico Madrid are in quality side. City, we can't get City because we're an English side. Bayern Munich, who are again the other team I wouldn't fancy us against. And then Inter Milan, who I definitely would fancy us against. Now they've getting
especially if Lukaku's going.
Well, they get rid of Martinez as well. Have you seen?
Yeah, he's off Spurs, isn't it?
Yeah. And then Sporting Lisbon and Lille. I'd fancy us against. That's pot 1 this year.
Yeah.
And then
it's basically avoid Bayern and Atletico, isn't it?
Avoid Bayern and Atletico, and you're all right, which is easier said than done in a random draw. But I mean, knowing United, they'll end up getting Bayern Munich and they'll get Ajax in pot 3 and AC Milan in pot 4. Knowing United, but in pot 2 is Real Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, Juventus, United, Liverpool, PSG, and Dortmund.
Oh, PSG? Oh yeah, of course, because Lille won the league.
Second.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's going to be an awful group somewhere along the line, isn't there?
A few awful groups, isn't there? I think in there.
Yeah.
A couple of awful groups because no matter what, no matter who Bayern, and if you're looking at being Bayern or Atletico, you're going to get a hard team in that pot 2, no matter what. No, I mean, you'd probably argue that Sevilla would be all right if you got them, but everyone else, Real Madrid, Barca, Juve, United, Liverpool, PSG, Dortmund, you wouldn't want any of those.
No.
And it's looking forward to it. I mean, that Champions League says here, teams involved, qualifying rounds on August 25th. So it'll be after that, I'd imagine, won't it?
Yeah, probably be around the international break, won't it?
Yeah.
That they do.
Yeah. So I mean, that'd be interesting. We can talk.
He's done it again.
But yes, so we can talk about that. But go on then, Chris. I'll get your predictions for United Leeds after we've just gone massively off topic.
Yeah, I think positive start. I can't see him keeping a clean sheet though against Leeds. I don't think many will keep clean sheets against Leeds just because of the way they pressure. Give them a good chances. But I think United will have the firepower to break them down. I'm going to go 3-1 to United. Hopefully, we'll see Sancho get 20 minutes or so at least.
Yeah, at least. I was going to say I was going to say 2-1 because I think United will. I think United actually do what they did last year a lot, and I think they'll go down 1-0 to Leeds. And I think everyone will think, oh dear, and I think that's when the fans will come to play. And I think the fact that 75,000 are massively helpers. I know Leeds will be loud as well. Don't get me wrong, but I think United fans will have to be loud because Leeds definitely will be, and that is for sure. Yeah. But yes, thank you for joining me, Chris, as per usual.
No problem.
We've had a comment here. 1-0 Leeds, Johnny Chick says. There we go, 1-0 Leeds. Johnny Chick does do the Leeds TV, and he's a Leeds fan, so it's slightly biased from John. But yes, I think it'll be a good game regardless. I think if you're a neutral, hopefully, you should be entertained in that one because United Leeds, was it 0-0? Didn't they draw 0-0 in the last game?
Yeah, at Ellen Road, I think it was
Yeah.
0-0. But they made up for it in the other one, I suppose. So
6-2. I know you just can't. It's one of the games that you said predict it. Go and predict that.
Exactly.
So anyway, thank you for joining me, Chris.
No problems.
If you haven't already, make sure you check out all the content that Local TV put out. It's on the Facebook page. There's various articles. You can find the links to them on there. But yes, we will be back again next weekend. I'm not sure what day, depending on when we're free. But we'll be discussing the review from the Leeds game. I think we've got Southampton after that, haven't we? If I'm right.
I think so. Seems about right.
Something like that. Yeah.
Too many games going on.
We'll look forward to them, and hopefully we may have another signing by then because the window shuts this weekend. So you never know. We can discuss United's chances going forward, and maybe even have a look at the more depth look at the Champions League draw. But yes, thank you for joining me, Chris, and goodbye.